Going live.
Of all times to forget my gorilla mask.
Okay, and we're live. Nice. Okay.
Hell of an opening soliloquy.
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a hair after 2100. This is the Brushfire Mind. That means it must be Friday night. Where did the week go? Oh, that's right. It went into midterm exams and insurance sales and Chamber of Commerce business. And holy shit, have I been running around busy as a squirrel trying to shit a pineapple. But hey, that's life when you're getting out and go getting her. So, my name is Christopher Lowry. This is the Brushfire Mind. We got a couple of conversations we want to have tonight. I've got Zach, Steve, and John with me this evening. We're hoping Cameron and the rest pop in as the night wears on. We'll see what happens there. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about campus carry. This is something that's near and dear to my heart because, well, I can read and the Constitution says that laws that mention guns are illegal. In fact, in the strictest interpretation of the Second Amendment, it does not permit for even the idea of banning felons from owning firearms. This isn't complicated. It's not that many words. There's not a lot to interpret. So, in several states, Georgia about to be the 9th, theoretically, campus carry is a thing now. And that is that, at least in Georgia, under the law, it will be that a person who is 21 years of age and in college or for whatever reason on a college campus legitimately and has a Georgia carry license. I'll talk about what a Georgia carry license is a little bit because we don't have a distinction for a concealed carry permit. Concealed carry is not a separate thing. So in Georgia, it will be that a person with a carry license can carry, but only concealed, on college campuses if they meet those requirements. So last Friday we mentioned that the Georgia House and Senate had in fact passed the campus carry bill, and it was on to Governor Deal's office. Now, on Tuesday I had not yet heard the news that the governor had signed the bill. So it's at that point it still was not law. It still is not law. So I called the governor's office and got one of the aides. And she wouldn't answer my questions. I asked if there was any reason that he hadn't signed it yet. I asked if he intended to sign it. She told me that the bill had not yet been transmitted. Now, the news, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a couple, Fox 5, not Fox News, but the local Fox distributor, a few other news outlets had said that the bill was on his desk. Maybe that's just a euphemism that they use to say that it had in fact passed. But as of Tuesday, the aides were telling me that the bill had not yet been transmitted to his office. I did hear on WSB earlier today when I was braving Atlanta traffic driving back from a trip to frickin' Kennesaw, that the bill is in fact on his desk, but apparently there are some protests going on. There's a group called Dogs Against Guns protesting at the University of Georgia, which just befuddles me. The Georgia Bulldogs. So there's a group called the Dogs Against Guns that are protesting the bill. Several other groups, and basically a lot of political pressure from the enemy left on Governor Deal not to sign this legislation.
And don't forget the whole Every Town for Gun Safety that Bloomberg sponsors with billions of dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bloomberg is.
Yeah, he's a northern liberal, not liberal. I'm liberal. He's leftist.
So let me put this in perspective. A perspective. Last year I did work on a couple of political campaigns as a consultant. my primary consulting capacity was in security and gun legislation and healthcare legislation. Those are my particular fortes because it's the business I live in. Um, so I was at a town hall debate for a small local race, and we had 2 Republicans and 9 Democrats on the panel being questioned. Um, and you guys know me. I'm not really what you would call bound by suggestions, let alone regulations. So the moderators ask the questions. Where do you stand on campus carry? And one of the Democrats got to answer first. And she started going on about how guns are dangerous and only cowards need guns and this, that, and the other thing. And I stood up in this town hall, and it was sponsored by the Democrats, of course. And I said, well, ma'am, here's my question. You are stating now that your intent is to pursue any manner of legislation which restricts the ability of individuals to own and carry firearms, right? And she said, of course, gun control is important. I said, okay, given. Are there any other immediate plans that you have to shirk your oath to uphold and defend the Constitution as an elected representative? Are you going into this job planning to ignore your oath to uphold and defend the Constitution on any other issues?
Nice.
And of course, I didn't get much of an answer out of her on that. But it did play pretty well when the Republicans got to give their answers, because they each said, our oaths of office are very important. You know, something to the effect of, we take the oath seriously. We take our word seriously. When we swear an oath to do a thing, that is the thing that we will do. That sort of language. And I thought that was very healthy in that particular debate. And that is a piece that we need to start adding to the narrative. Anytime a politician says, I'm for gun control, oh, is there any other way that you intend to shirk your oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution? Hey, I think we need to start thinking about censoring speech on college campuses and make these safe spaces. Oh, really? Is there any other way in which you intend to shirk your oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution? I mean, obviously, you're just completely disenamored with the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. How do you feel about illegal search and seizure? How do you feel about the right not to incriminate oneself? How do you feel about, oh, I don't know, equal protection under the law and the abolition of slavery? Oh, you're Democrats. You've always been for slavery. That's right. I forgot. So Zach, why don't you chime in for just a minute and tell me what you think about about weapons carry in general, and also about carrying on campus in the context that we're discussing.
Sure. Well, out here where I live, conceal and carry is really common. A lot of people, especially in my age, they just like to carry, just because they feel like they should, and constitutionally it's allowed. What I see, there was a lot of stuff going on with Kansas City University lately with all the safe spaces that you brought up before. There's been a lot of different shootings and everything, and it just, it seems to me that it's just more conflict to fuel the fire to push gun control even further than it already is. And like you said, what else are they going to try and do in the future? To me, this seems like just one more step in some sort of destabilization. But then again, I'm here from my perspective. I I agree that you should have the right to bear and carry. And I mean, honestly, it's the way that they try to push it on me and my generation. It seems that they don't, they want to scare you away from having it. They want to scare you away from the people who want to carry because it's dangerous. It's not safe. It's like only criminals carry guns, and I don't agree with that. I think
That's
that
refreshing.
we all deserve the
Yeah.
right to bear.
Now let me sling it over to Steve real quick. Steve, like myself, carries as often as he can. So Steve, your thoughts, brother?
The immediate thought that I have, especially having just met Zach, that is a refreshing thought, and the idea being the weird part of the stance is the illusion of safety tends to mean more to people who vote against gun ownership and carrying than the actual presence of security. I'm not sure why the illusion is comforting that because you remove all means of protecting anyone from an area, you are protecting yourself from everyone. It just never did make a whole lot of sense to me. In regards to how Chris opened this with the campus carry idea, I too had joined into the email and the phone call to the governor's office response. And I didn't get numbers on the list yet or anything, but I'm sure it was pretty substantial, this being Georgia and things, and the steps that we've taken to become a more free state, at least where the Second Amendment's concerned. From what I gathered, Chris was right that the bill had not been to Governor Deal's desk yet by midweek, and that even though he said he would sign any pro-Second Amendment legislation that came across his desk, he would not sign this. He threatened to veto if changes weren't made. Now, mind you, this went through the State House and the State Senate rather easily, didn't meet resistance from the notoriously anti-gun Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle, went straight to the governor's desk, where the governor who was expected to sign it was the one who put up resistance. That sounds like an engineered response to me, but who am I, right? One of the things I know for sure that Deal was concerned about was the presence of firearms around younger children. I think there's a provision he wanted taken that campus daycares would be off limits to legally carrying citizens because there would be kids present. And he didn't, something about the K through 12 access to guns. No offense, people between kindergarten and 12th grade can't carry guns now legally. I don't know why this law changes anything for that. So the arguments that he's making are the kind of not rooted in reality, this is supposition, grasping at straws, straw men, possibly sophistry, arguments made by things like every town for gun safety, which is not every town because they've been run off in a lot of places, being told their New York money was not welcome in other states.
Mm-hmm.
But the language, the things he was responding like are exactly what the anti-gun leftists tend to speak like. And if you actually break down their ideas, they don't hold water under any kind of load testing. So basically my feeling on it is he's being pressured by the anti-gunners here and from out of state and places who have really no effect on his future at all, unless there's money involved, which it is politics.
John, you want to pick it up there?
My impression is a little bit different. A person who is self-reliant, who is able to defend themselves, who is able to feed themselves, care for themselves, does not need to be anybody's victim. That person, in the process of being able to be self-reliant, self-defending, and self-providing, can also think for themselves. Campus carry is therefore a major step against campus leftism. If your leftists cannot push the theme of we're all victims together, because some of those people in that crowd are not victims and refuse to be victims, the wind goes out of the sails of the entire campus leftist argument.
Mm-hmm.
I would strongly promote making people as self-reliant, self-depending, self-defending, and self-thinking as possible. If you want to retain a constitution and you want to have states' rights, individual rights, those people have to be able to think for themselves and look after themselves. But if they accept the notion that the state is their caretaker of first and last resort, those people will always be leftists because that's their only recourse. So I would have to say that this campus carry issue will be fought hard if the leftists are smart enough to figure out that their entire victimhood methodology is based on depriving people of individual self-reliance.
Yeah, I think you're right, John. I think this is starting to go. For years, we've all made the comments about things like losing the personal responsibility, losing all these things, giving away freedoms to gain the illusion of security, and things like that. But this has taken it to a different level, especially with the whole safe spaces thing, and as we've touted before on episodes of this, the predatory victims. There are people that actually have it in their hearts to be made victims, to be made victims of something, rather than just inadvertently stumbling upon something that causes them a problem. But I got myself sidetracked again, as I usually do.
What I'm relating, Steve, is that leftist or liberalism is based on the idea that we are all victims, and therefore we should all stick together and have the state be our protector and our provider. In essence, the campus leftist who is crying for a safe space or crying for someone to protect them is assuming that that person who will jump in to protect and provide for them will be the state.
Yeah, right.
What is their first and last resort? If they don't like you, oh, well, I'll call the police on you. Or something along those lines. First they try to shame you, and then they say, well, I'm going to call the police on you. In other words, that person is entirely dependent upon the state to be their backup. But what happens when the state turns on them? And it always does.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, then they're helpless. What will they do? Well, they are stuck ingratiating themselves even more to the state. A person who cannot look after themselves will always be a slave. When you can protect yourself, protect your own family, protect protect and provide for yourself, you are a true American. When you are not these things, you're a slave. That's why we have a Constitution. That's why we have a Second Amendment and a First Amendment. It is not for cowards and weaklings. It is for brave, bold, intrepid people who stand forth and say, I can and I will. So that's really, it's not about campus carry or even guns. It's about assertion of free will and self-reliance. That's my thought.
All right, let me take over for a few minutes here. First and foremost, let me say, hey, Patrick, welcome to the show, brother. Glad to have you. We're talking campus carry right now, and how Governor Deal is kind of being a little bitch about it. But we just kind of we tiptoed off that topic a little bit and brushed the idea of the victim, the predator victim that we've discussed in the past. And I want to address that for just a moment, because it's something I've been giving thought to lately and kind of developing that concept. Hitler. So how'd the Nazis do it? They said, hey, look at all these Jews. Jews are the problem. Jews are the minority of the people of Germany, and they have most of the money. Let's wipe them out. I'm simplifying for effect, but at the end of the day, that's the long and the short of how that was done. What we have going on in America is another group of leftists have figured out, oh, wait, there's just too many damn people in America to snowball all of them. Now, in fairness, it's unlikely that all of the Germans were snowballed. The number is like 7% were actually active party Nazis. But you look at America, and you have a lot more people to deal with. So what do? Well, you can't tell everybody that we have to hate this one group of people. Or you can tell everybody in small groups, hey, all you black people, you need to hate the white people because they're keeping you down. Hey, all you gay people, you need to hate the men, the Christians, because they're keeping you down. Hey, all you this, you need to hate this other group of people that happens to intersect with the majority. Hey, you this, you need to hate this other group of people that just happens to be the same group of people that you're hating for a different reason. And so what they've done is basically made up 1,000 different words for Jew in this context, you know, the target of the animosity. And instead of building a coalition of the entire people, of the entire majority against a single smaller group, they have divided the larger majority into substantially smaller and smaller groups and turned those smaller groups against the majority, but in such a way that those individual small minorities make up a large group.
With the Democratic Party as moderator. That's just it. The Democratic Party is a coalition of tiny minorities, and they have appointed themselves as the moderator of 1,001 strands of victims.
Yes, and another interesting little thing that's going on there is those disparate victim groups. Many of them are at odds with one another. One of those victim groups is American Muslims. Another of those victim groups is the LGBT community. Another is the black community. Black men notoriously are less accepting of homosexuals than most other groups. Certain groups of Asians, Koreans, for example, are much more readily racist against blacks culturally. And of course, Muslims in Sharia law-ruled countries, they're tossing gays off of roofs and stoning people and all kinds of madness. So individually, the groups are actually at odds with one another, but they're all agreed that, well, basically the evil blue-eyed white devil is the enemy. And that is an interesting and dangerous position that we found ourselves in.
Speak for yourself. I have hazel eyes.
Ah, yes. You're an inferior specimen. It's all right. My eyes go kind of Chinese when I laugh too hard.
I have several pictures if anyone cares to subscribe.
So, hey, Patrick, why don't you pop in for a minute, because you have a unique perspective on what's going on at the Capitol.
Oh, Lord.
No pressure.
The whole campus carry thing, shut up, has the noise around the halls of the Capitol has reached this cacophony of stupidity I have not seen in years. People were so up in arms, and they were screaming about how this is just going to put dangerous situations back onto campus. This is just going to allow immature, unexperienced kids to have guns, and then they'll start shooting up college campuses. Oh my gosh. And so much so to the point that a Kennesaw State University professor was forcibly arrested at the Capitol last Friday for protesting in a manner that was not acceptable within the Capitol itself.
Carrying a sign in an unauthorized area, yes?
Yes. And all of that basically traces back to insurance liability, because if you're hanging a sign on the 3rd floor and it falls down to somebody and hits somebody on the 2nd floor, well, guess what? Ouch, a piece of plastic hit me in the face.
Time to retire.
The campus carry bill, I think, is, in its current incarnation, the one that passed out of both chambers and went to Governor Deal's desk, about as good a compromise as you could possibly get. It allows the guns on campus. It's anyone 21 years of age and over. They have to have a concealed carry permit. They must carry concealed, and they're not allowed to bring it into dormitories, frat houses, sororities, or athletic events. A couple of those I got a problem with, like the dorms and sororities, or all that kind of stuff, especially the dormitories. Well, because I mean, you got to leave your gun in your car, really. But Governor Deal did come out and express his problems with it, which I'm wondering why he came out with such that. Who's leaning on him since he's not facing an election this year? Who's in his ear saying that they need to make these changes, unless he genuinely has a concern about college kids carrying guns. And that reignited the whole debate amongst some of my coworkers and I about guns. And I told them, look, it's a very simple thing at the end of the day. A responsible citizen carrying concealed responds faster than a police officer. And then one of the guys said, well, what about Chicago? Chicago's got such great gun control laws and everything's fine there.
Dude obviously doesn't read a newspaper, get a news feed, no TV in his life.
Well, the one thing that I can't agree with you there is, yes, Chicago has some of the strictest gun control laws in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But Chicago could not have done, and I use my ever favorite argument of Chicago versus Kennesaw. And I said, Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. And what's the result? Crime's rampant up there because the criminals know the people can't defend themselves. So they can run around and do basically whatever they want with no fear of repercussion for their actions from the private citizen. Kennesaw, every head of household is required to own a firearm and the ammunition therefore. Not even the law you really have to enforce since it's on the books. And that law was instituted in a direct answer to Morton Grove, Illinois, I want to say was the name of the town, passed a total prohibition on guns in 1982. And so the city of Kennesaw responded in kind saying, hey, everybody has to have a gun. And an interesting thing happened in Kennesaw. It suddenly, year over year, had one of the lowest crime statistic rates of any city in the entire United States. Gasp. And then 3 years ago, and I was rereading about this today, Chicago actually eased the restrictions on getting a concealed carry permit to the point that 50,000 new concealed carry permits were issued in a 6-month period. In the 6 months that followed that surge, anybody care guess what happened?
Tripled.
Crime
rates fall?
Crime went, yeah, the Cubs won the World Series. Crime went down 26%.
No.
They could not have made a better argument for me if I asked them to.
Sure.
And
because
they were
in
like,
essence, they just got themselves 50,000 volunteer policemen.
Exactly.
Right, basically.
Well, even if you called it 35,000, if you know that most of them aren't going to shoot anybody to protect anyone but themselves,
The
we're not all
perception that
sheepdogs.
there's a lot of guns out there. We better not rob this house because these guys might be carrying.
There you go.
Well, Jeff Foxworthy.
again,
Jeff Foxworthy, the Southern comedian, he did a joke in one of his shows. He said, if you come up to a place and the grass hadn't been mowed and there's a couple of broken down cars on blocks, a motor swinging from the tree, and the screen doors laying on the ground, you're not going to rob that house. Because they're broke? No, because that's a house where a gun lives. And if you want to know what kind, you just come on in through the window in the middle of the night. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, my grass is pretty well cut, but come on.
And then he was asking me, he was like, well, what's this whole thing about Kennesaw? Because I've never heard of that before. And I said, yeah. And so I gave him the rundown of the whole thing. And he was like, that's seriously off. I said, look it up, dude. Go look up the thing with Chicago as well. I mean, the whole Neil Bortz thing. Do not believe anything I say unless you know for yourself it to be true. But with Kennesaw, that law that's on the books isn't even something that you really have to directly enforce.
No,
because it's there.
Well, and if you look at Australia, sometime they've gone back and forth on gun laws. They've let them go, and then they've tightened them up, and then they've let them go, and they've tightened them up. And every time they increase gun legislation, crime rate goes up, murder rates go up, and not murders with guns. Whenever they get more restrictive on gun legislation, murder goes up. And one of the things the left likes to say is, oh yeah, America has the highest rate of gun-related homicides in the world. Yes, but who has the highest rates of homicide? Because I'm sorry, if you kill me with a knife, I'm still dead.
Yes,
if
or
you
a
kill
ball
me
gun,
with
which
a
is
gun,
statistically the
it's just
highest
less likely.
rate of usage. Sorry,
So the statistic they quote is never actual homicides. And that's just not a legitimate statistic.
Here's another statistic for you. Bernie Sanders and friends make a lot of noise about they want an America that's more like Europe. More like Sweden, specifically. Well, we all know that Sweden and Germany, the people themselves are not happy with the way things are in that country.
Right.
And there has been a vast increase in gun sales throughout Germany. So strangely enough, despite what the Sanders and Clinton crowd will tell you, Germans and Swedes want a Second Amendment.
Well, and
they deserve one.
And there have been officials, Danish, Swedish, Swiss officials, a few of the other Eastern European bloc as well, that have come out publicly in the last few months and said, "Hey, whoa, Bernie, Hillary, stop pointing at us as the example. Yes, we have socialized medicine, and everybody gets to go to college for free, and we are working our asses off to get away from that shit. Yes, we have it, but that is not the reason to go for it. The reason to go for it is don't. Fucking don't."
Because look at the abject poverty it's driven us into.
There you go.
Something else to consider.
I'm going to call.
Make a lot of noise.
And I think we've beaten the dead horse on the campus carry thing. Except I do want to do this real quick. I said I'd talk a little bit about what a Georgia weapon carry license is, contrasting it with other states. So, in some states we have a few states where it's just open carry. If you're wearing it where you can see it, you're good. And then you have a separate license to carry concealed. In Georgia, we have a weapon carry license. Georgia is an open carry state. Once you have a weapon carry license, you can carry anything that you can get legally, which basically means any firearm or knife or whatever, short of anything. You can't carry a fully automatic weapon, which is bullshit because that's not constitutional. But if you don't have a federal firearms license, now if you have the FFL and a Georgia carry license, then you can get away with walking around with a machine gun. That's expensive, cumbersome, and draws a lot of attention, so it's pretty much unnecessary and uncomfortable to do. But
and just to reiterate, expensive. Yes.
Yes. Oh yeah. I would have a Mark 19 on the top of my pick-em-up truck if it didn't cost me, $2,300 per 40mm grenade that I had to put through that thing.
Put through the $57,000 machine launcher.
Plus I could buy a very, very nice truck for what it would cost us to buy the gun. But it is hard to beat the sensation of firing a fully automatic 40mm grenade launcher, isn't it, John?
Well, there's some pretty dangerous ducks out there.
Yes. So, But that's basically the way it works in Georgia. There is a license, and if you have that license, then you can carry your weapon how you want to carry your weapon.
Yeah, and that covers asp batons, long-bladed, fixed-blade knives, anything considered what would be considered a weapon under Georgia law.
Correct. We've got a guy where I live. I see him every now and then in the Target, the Publix, grocery stores, whatever. kind of a heavy set, good old boy with a big old beard, and he walks around open carry with a judge on his hip everywhere he goes. And it just warms the cockles of my heart. In fact, I get a tickle down in the subcockle region. I love to see open carry. I don't open carry, largely because of the kind of professional image that I cult. Believe it or not, I know. Right to bear arms, whatever. I don't conduct insurance business in a sleeveless T-shirt. Needless to say,
it's hard to see you open carry under a suit jacket anyway.
I'm way too fat and sweaty to wear a suit jacket most of the time in the state of Georgia. I pretty much stick to golf shirts and khakis.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, switching topics. Steve, Patrick, what did you want to hit tonight?
We already touched on mine.
Uh-oh.
So, I was
ahead.
reading. Yeah, I was reading a couple of days ago about one of the latest gaffes that Hillary Clinton made in one of her little interviews. And, this one, I think, takes the cake at just about any other one that I've heard her. And before I continue, can you guys see me on video? Because I just got like this green screen with the white
We
head.
can see you.
Yeah, you're good.
Your feed's fine.
Okay, fair enough. So she was at a town hall, and somebody was questioning her about the response in the Middle East, specifically Libya. And she said, "Well, is Libya perfect? No, but I think our response there was appropriate, and we didn't lose a single person." Whoa.
That's Common Core math.
Yes, it is.
She's right, though.
Yeah.
No. She's absolutely right. We did not lose one single person.
We lost 4.
We lost 4.
Yeah.
Apparently the diplomat that was sodomized and brutally murdered in the streets to a crowd of cheering fans just doesn't really count.
Yeah.
Nor the 3 servicemen who tried like hell to stall for time till the relief came. I don't need to present. It was just an interjection.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So,
and I may have missed you guys talking about it, but how do you feel about about Marco Rubio and his ass getting spanked in Florida?
Oh, incidentally, let's just play off that just before we go to the Republican end of this shitstorm. How about what Chris and I were talking about and the Missouri Sanders response?
yes. Okay, so here's what I think about that. And yeah, I can't wait. I don't have a whole lot to say about Florida, except that last week on this show I said, guys, don't forget, next Tuesday is Florida, and little Marco is going to get fucked in the face. He's just not ready for the shitstorm.
Hard. Not just fucked in the face hard.
Well, let's be real. What really happened to little Marco is he said, "Hey Trump, show me your dick," and Donald said, "Okay." That's what happened to little Marco. And don't get it twisted. I like Marco well enough. Like Cruz, I think he, on a policy matter, is far too informed by his faith. But let me pop back over to Missouri. I think it's this simple. You look at Bernie now, and the fact that he conceded, he didn't lose in Missouri. It's much worse than that. He conceded Missouri. So that is a blow to his momentum that is going to be very difficult for him to recover from. I think the fact that he conceded Missouri rather than lost it outright That's going to be a blow to the confidence of his voting base. I know they are pernicious
Yep.
and voracious, but
An illusion.
their confidence in their candidate is still a viable factor, still an important factor, especially among those that are more likely to vote. So I think we can go ahead and call it. Bernie's done. But Hillary doesn't want Bernie out of the race, because if Bernie falls out of the race, Hillary falls out of the news. The news gets dominated by nothing but Trump. And then Hillary has to struggle her way back into the public view once the primary season is over, before she can even begin to deal with Trump. And she's already fighting an uphill battle there. I think unless some serious political gamesmanship goes down, and this whole thing with Eric Erickson and the league to stop Trump gives us the third party that they're threatening, which is potentially actually a fourth party because it's completely separate from the libertarian third party. That's a big fuck split. So I'm afraid that these guys that are packing up their toys and going home because they're butthurt they didn't get their precious little Jebby boy. I think unless Trump takes the nomination outright, Hillary is the next president.
No.
Yep.
No.
And that's been a concern of mine for a while, because at this particular juncture, especially with Kasich winning Ohio the way he did, I just don't see Trump being able to pull off an outright win. And at this particular moment, that's going to be the only way, because like you say, with Eric Erickson and all that nonsense that he's trying to pull, which is starting to really irritate the crap out of me, because it's creating, again, more of that divisiveness that he's preaching against.
I'll chalk it up to his evangelical preference anyhow. He's doing a good thing.
Absolutely.
He's doing a good thing with the resurgent, I think, but his stopping Trump movement, I don't know. I guess everyone needs to mobilize what they believe in, but I think that one's a bit off.
Yeah, me too. I mean, kudos to the dude for sticking with his convictions and everything like that, but, I mean, I was reading today, the AJC called up Newt Gingrich to ask him about all of that, and he said, oh, it's a cute parlor trick, but they need to wake up.
I like him.
Yeah,
he didn't mix any words about it.
No, he doesn't. He flat out said, I've got absolutely no sympathy at all for the Eric Ericksons of the world. They're creating more problems than they're solving, and they just need to let it go. It's just like, wow, Eric, you just got verbally bitch slapped by Newt Gingrich. How do you feel? Stop Trump!
Yeah, right.
You know what? It was Gingrich that made the comment about colonizing Mars that fucked him up so bad in his primary, right? Was that?
I think that was part of it. Yes.
Yeah. So Gingrich made the comments about, oh yeah, we're gonna start, in the future we'll be colonizing Mars, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, tinfoil hat man, oh he's crazy, his primary's over, blah blah blah. Hey, wait a minute, isn't there this guy? Maybe you've heard of him, Elon Musk, that said I'm gonna put a fucking colony on Mars and is doing it. Now, they're all going to die. But
something about oxygen,
But did anybody read Stranger to Strangeland?
Oh yeah.
They all died too. And then when the second colony got there, they left a little guy behind that got raised by Martians, and he was awesome.
Yep.
Not that I'm saying that there's going to be a bunch of Martians and all that, but
well, there goes your campaign.
But oh yeah, fuck.
What he's really saying is that Gingrich is talking about doing big things, and was talking about doing big things, and he was laughed at and guffawed for daring to dream big things.
Or for saying something offhand that made no difference whatsoever in the long run of that friggin' campaign.
Okay, here's the thing, is that America has been addicted to dreaming small things. My country is not a country for runts.
Right. We've become a country of participation trophies and the fucking cult of mediocrity, and it's unacceptable.
Okay. So here's the thing. Now, the Democratic Party is split. I suspect a good 2/3 of Bernie's supporters aren't all that crazy about Bernie himself. Basically, Bernie's movement is a movement in search of a leader. Bernie is not that guy, but they're kind of stuck with him because he's not Hillary Clinton. If there had been any other person besides Hillary Clinton, he'd have cleaned the floor with her. I suspect that Sanders was in fact put up as a cardboard candidate that Hillary could practice on and stay relevant, as Chris pointed out. And I don't think he was supposed to have gotten the traction that he did. He got that traction because Hillary herself is such a bad person. You know.
Expletive deleted.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, there are not words to really encompass the wrongfulness of that person.
Now let me address that for just a minute. In fairness to Bernie, since Bernie's all about the fairness, apparently, let's give him a little. So I think you're right. I think Bernie was put up as a cardboard candidate, straw man for Hillary to beat on, yada 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 yada. But it's not just that Hillary is such a terrible candidate. We do actually have a large and unfortunately and horrifyingly growing number of desperate little teat suckers in this country that are looking for that handout. The free college thing, the free medical thing, people who basically are morally comfortable with slavery. Because at the end of the day, if you advocate for a free product or service to people as a right, then what you're saying is that it is the government's responsibility to guarantee to you that you will have a claim on the work of another man. Mm-hmm. Now, let me hit the education piece on that. So there's all this argument, and I don't even remember. We may have talked about this last show, we may not have, but there's all this argument back and forth on that. The argument back and forth on Bernie's free education plan between the left and the right is always about how are we going to pay for it. And Bernie says, oh, well, I've got this great plan. Look, and there's this economist that says it's a good idea. He's the one that wrote the plan. Okay, so he says it's a good idea. That's great for you. And then the response by the right is, oh, well, no, this plan's unsustainable. You can't pay for it. Why isn't anybody saying, wait a minute, this is a bad fucking idea? And even Bernie has said, remember 50 years ago, if you had a high school diploma, that meant something. You could go get a job with that. And just 30 years ago, if you had an associate's degree, that meant something. You could go get a job with that. But now, you can't. That's not enough. You can't go get a job with just an associate's degree. So everybody needs a bachelor's degree. Bernie, if everybody has a bachelor's degree, then everybody's going to need a fucking master's degree. Have you not figured this shit out? If you print more money, the money loses value.
That's right.
If you print more college degrees, the same is true. They lose value. If you give everybody a college degree, it is the same as if nobody has one.
The funny thing about that is I've had this same argument with Democrats in my own personal circle. And their argument is, well, you'll still have a large portion that doesn't go to college, even if it's offered free. Then why bother? Who are you helping if everything is free and most people aren't going to take advantage of it anyway? I don't know. There's something in that that's never come together for me.
Well, even that argument is not so. That argument's not even that the plan won't devalue the education. That argument is just that it won't entirely devalue the education. It will only devalue it somewhat. But let's take a moment and look at the U.S. dollar. Since 1913, we've lost over 95% of the value of the U.S. dollar under the tutelage and the wise visage of the Federal Reserve. It wasn't that long ago, just a half dozen decades, that you could buy a whole shitload of house for $100,000. Now, that's kind of where you start looking.
Man, it wasn't that long ago. Like my childhood, you could buy a whole house car for $10,000.
Yeah.
Right. Your dream home in the 1950s, your dream home could have been had for 20 or 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I have this conversation, Steve, you remember when we were building the Johnny Carinos out by what was it? Discover Mills. I think it's Sugarloaf Parkway Mall or something now, but it was called Discover Mills back in the day. The credit card company owned it. We built an Italian restaurant out there. I had about an hour and a half drive home from there every day while we were working that site. And I always started getting drowsy about halfway through. So I would always pull over in this gas station. I'd go in and get myself a candy bar, pack of cigarettes, cup of coffee, and a soda pop. Get that jolt of sugar and caffeine and keep my fat ass awake until I got home. Well, one day I walk into the gas station, I pick up my soda, my candy bar, my pack of cigarettes, and my cup of coffee, and I take them up to the counter, and I'm laying down a $10 bill on the counter and expecting change because this is back when my pack of cigarettes still only cost $2. And this old man walks up, and I'm covered in dirt. We were roughing in the project, so I mean we built that building from the ground up, so we were digging trenches in the mud to lay pipe in before we poured the foundation that the building was going to sit in.
No shade and no breeze and
yeah, no shade, no. So I'm sunburned, I'm nasty, I'm covered in red clay. This old man comes up to me, says, "Wow, boy, you look like you've been working today." And I'm like, "Oh, good old boy. We're going to have one of those fun conversations." I actually enjoy those conversations, and I love it when an old man looks at me and says, "You look like you've been working all day. Good on you, boy." I used to appreciate the shit out of that. I still would. But he asked me, "So what do you get paid to do that?" I said, "I'm making $12 an hour digging ditches to put pipes in for electrical right now." He said, "Wow, when I was your age, that kind of work wouldn't have paid more than maybe 40 or 50 cents an hour." And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, but how much was a pack of cigarettes? A nickel? How much was your soda pop? Another nickel? I mean, you could have bought what I've got when you were making 30 or 40 cents an hour, you could have bought everything I've got on the counter here for less than I'm about to pay in sales tax."
That's right.
That's a huge fuck difference. Guess how we get there?
Print
Welfare
money.
programs and printing fucking currency. Devaluation of our precious currency.
If everyone has it, it's worth less. If there's more of it, it's worth less. I don't understand what part of high school economics that the majority of the Democrat Party didn't pay attention to.
Well, not only that, the economics as it's taught in our public education now, they actually teach basically that money and currency are the same thing, and that is one of the most wrong-headed concepts you could possibly have.
It is, but
currency
even at it
is representative portion.
It wasn't that long ago. Well, actually, it was 25 years ago when I had my first economics lesson in middle school. We already knew that. Is that part of Common Core now? You just reject everything that's been proven out repeatedly when it comes to numbers and just start over?
Ask Zachary.
Yeah, more or less.
Oh, they didn't have Common Core back when I was in school. I've looked at it myself and I barely understand it. Honestly, I haven't taken the time to look at it myself. I'm planning on homeschooling my children with some other kind of curriculum. I don't really put too much stock in the federally mandated curriculum that they are trying to get us to learn.
Good.
How many kids you got there, Zach?
I got 3.
No shit. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Damn, son, get it done.
Well, let's see. 2 of them are from this other jackass. It's a long story.
Okay.
And the my 2-month-old is mine.
Props to you for stepping up.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Zach.
Yeah. Now, I've been listening to you guys all night, and I see you got a lot. You stand up for it. But when I was in high school, all these things, they were taught to us, but it wasn't like we didn't absorb it because I don't think it was meant to be absorbed rather than learned as a piece of history that like an artifact. Like your freedom is now an artifact. And
It's an interesting.
Well put.
yeah, entitlement and You know, the idea that like, why not me too?
Mhm.
That was very prevalent in the school kids my age, and then they go on to college, and then half of them don't, wondering, well, what happened? I was told my entire youth that I was going to go to college, get a job, have my family, and it's like it doesn't work out like that. I mean, and I've learned that the hard way, but I feel stronger for it. So
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
Zachary,
when they were how
you're
sick
exactly
did
the
you
kind of
really?
fellow we're trying to reach.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
One at a time, yo.
You're the
One at
kind of guy we're trying to reach. And Chris will second that. I know it. I see it in his
Yep.
eyes.
And
Man,
Zach, I tell you what, brother,
You know.
Yep.
I did it kind of backwards. I got out of high school. I went to college for a semester. Then I went to fucking work, and then I went to war, and then I became an entrepreneur, and then I went back to college again. I'm a full-time college student now, and I go to college right now because, well, it is probably the highest quality entertainment available for a man who can afford it. I'm a philosophy major because I find the stuff fascinating. I enjoy it, so I that's what I do that's basically my hobby.
Our anarcho-capitalist over there has taken a liberal arts major.
Yeah, why not?
Hey.
I get all these fantastic opportunities to debate with liberal. In fairness, it's kind of a softball pitch. I would be having much more challenging debates and conversations if I were taking like a Master's of Business Administration or something. And I might go get one of those later too. Why not? It's not like it's hard, right?
Well, hey, there's that Masters again, you know. Is everyone going to have one by then?
Well,
No. By the time everybody has a master's degree, you'll be talking to Dr. Lowry.
That's right.
Who's still, dunking fries at McDonald's because everybody's now a doctor too. Nobody can find work.
You're not gonna catch Dr. Lowry dunking fucking flipping burgers. No, sir.
Doctor somebody doing it if everyone's got it.
I've paid my dues. I'll rob banks before I go back to the fucking cook line.
Which is honest work, as long as you don't lie about it.
And I'm just like when I was fighting in Afghanistan. If I start robbing banks for a living, I know that getting shot, killed is just it's a professional hazard.
That's right. Now, if it's any consolation, I'm kind of doing it backwards like Chris, too. My wife will be finishing up her master's degree in May. My dare to her was, if you go back and get your master's, I'll go back to school. Here she is about to get hers, and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Maybe you should become a computer engineer for this little company I know called the Brushfire Mind.
No, we can't afford it.
No?
Yeah, you can't afford me.
I can't afford you?
No.
If you get the job and put it to work, then you can afford you.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm a demanding boss. No, I don't think it'll be anything to do with it.
Okay.
Might be something to do with, well, actually, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. That's the easiest way I can put it. I got to look at the catalog.
Yeah.
Honestly, Steve, a liberal arts degree is almost like cheating. I mean, it's kind of.
I was going to say that you're not graded on anything. How in the world can you not have the degree?
Well, I mean, you got to read all these. You got to read all these fucking books. Ooh, this was a good one. American Education. Ooh.
Okay. I want you to do that again. Okay, hold up the first book again.
Oh, ethics.
Hold it sideways to the camera.
Oh.
Okay, now hold up the education book.
Oh yeah. Oh, before I hold up the education book here, this is The Story of Art by Gumbrick.
Okay, so the art book is already as thick as the ethics book. The education book is a third.
It's a fucking pamphlet.
Yeah. With that much education training, how are you even going to know what ethics mean?
Oh, and this is the 16th edition.
Oh God!
The first one was
16 times they've gone back and altered and added to this book, and it is still just a pamphlet.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've now been presented the issue of why our nation is stupid. It is now your job as a population to fix it.
He says to our one viewer, who, by the way, we appreciate the shit out of you, one viewer. We love you. Leave us comments, and hopefully you'll send us money soon.
Give us a like.
Yeah, give us a like, give us a share, be our friend.
Come to the dark side. Have cookies.
All right, guys, it is 2200, and I think we have exhausted the topic stream for the evening. So I'm going to go ahead and call it and take us off the air. Again, one viewer. You had a friend. There were two viewers for some time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
and
so
if you're
much.
watching this after the fact, those should have been you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you watching. Thank you for being with us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Look for clips coming out. We've got a couple of special projects that we've got in the works right now. One of them. It's going to be so good.
Okay,
it's going to be great. It's going to be the greatest project ever. It's going to be Trumpian.
At least be the best one recently.
Yeah, we've got some crazy shit. It's going to be just awesome. So anyway, it's been a great evening. It's 2200. We always do a minimum 1 hour. Every now and then you get lucky, and we're here all night. Sometimes we're even inebriated. That's fun. But this has been the Brushfire Mind. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week at 2100. Same bat time, same bat channel, as it were. And remember, if you build a man a fire, you will keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he will be warm for the rest of his life. Good night.